gonna make it. You're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible. It's not probable. You're irresponsible. Too many obstacles. You gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow. You can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move. I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions. They blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen. That shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're driven. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Or will you fight?
Hello and welcome to Gameday from the UK, another Miami Heat UK live pre-game streaming show here tonight to preview tonight's game against the San Antonio Spurs. Apologies, first of all, that we've been away for a week or so. Guys have been very busy. We've had people down. Bilal's been down with COVID. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Get well soon, Bilal. John's had crucial uni work stages that he's had to get through. Ollie's been away with work. Sam's just had a social life to deal with. It's just been non-stop with the guys. So apologies for being away for a bit, but we are back now. We've got Ollie and Sam with us at least tonight, while the other guys are going to be creeping back hopefully as the week goes on. But first of all, let's introduce them. Ollie, Rahimi, how are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very excited to be back. It feels like it's been ages.
It has been ages, hasn't it? Yeah, you miss it. We miss it, man. When I don't speak to you guys for a week, I just feel sad. It's no good. Sam Aquara, how are you, buddy? You on mute, man? Try it again without off of mute. Yeah. There you go.
I'm good. I'm tired. Well, I'm good.
Yes, good man. Good man. Looking very well, mate. Looking very well. It's great to have you both back. Well, since we've last spoke, guys, there's been some ups and downs. More noticeably, probably some downs. As we join tonight, we normally reflect on the last game. We haven't spoke for about a week, so we'll sort of cover it all in sort of, one fell swoop, if you like. So the Heat currently on a 3-game skid. If anything, Sam, I'll start with you. It's through the season we've said that we've missed key guys. We've missed Jimmy for long spells. We've lost Bam for long spells. We've lost Tyler for spells. And our role players have really stood up, really stepped up and done some incredible things. But we said at that point that as well as they've done, the record wouldn't look quite as healthy as it did without Kyle Lowry being there to marshal them through. Kyle has had an extended break because of personal reasons, which we hope are all good and well. But that just shows you, Sam, doesn't it, that when he isn't in, it all goes a little bit wrong. And, these role players who have been so good, it just shows you the importance, doesn't it, of Kyle Lowry?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not trying to discount Kyle Lowry's impact because over the past few games, the games where Jimmy and Bam were out, we raved intensely about his leadership and how he managed to put those guys together and how he led them to some wins that we had no business winning when our team was massively down. But there are just certain games that, sorry to say, we shouldn't be losing. And the last game against Toronto was one of them. And we started well. We just couldn't close out.
Yeah, I mean, things like that happen. There's games that you win that you don't expect to win. There's games that you lose when you're expected to win. But just getting back, Ollie, to Kyle for a minute. I mean, anybody will tell you, not even Heat fans, any NBA fan will tell you that Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo are the Heat's two best players. But considering this stretch, and in my opinion, the impact that Cole has, which is so impersonable on this team, it's so impactful. Is he then the Heat's most impactful player? Do we miss him when he's not in the team more than maybe if we miss Jimmy or Bam for a stretch?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I said I did a little piece on my sort of halfway through the season, my ratings for all of the Heat players, and also something about how underrated almost Kyle Lowry is on this team. Kyle is an A+ for me for the first half of the season, and I think you said it correctly. He is our most impactful player, if not our best player. Most impactful and most important, I think, coupled with PJ Tucker as well. And you can see that in the games that we've been without him. Jimmy has to facilitate more. Bam has to facilitate more. And then the scoring is on guys that aren't necessarily first option scorers. And as much as those guys have proved to be reliable in short stretches, like we've seen from Caleb and Max and Gabe and even Omer at some points. Over the course of a season and long stretches where Kyle is out, you do definitely miss that leadership and just that basketball IQ that he has that I don't think anybody else on the team can replicate. So in that sense, he is, in my opinion, the most impactful and important player on the Heat team.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, whereas you've got your players like Jimmy Butler who can go and get you 35 plus points a game, we have got players that can not replicate, but can fill in that role. We've seen it with Caleb Martin. We've seen when Bam's gone out that we've had Omar and Dedmon step up and you're not going to be as productive. You're not going to have that much of an influence on the game as what those guys do, but you can fulfill that need. And this is, you know, absolutely no slant on Gabe, which I'm going to come on to in a minute, who's been phenomenal. But yeah, that leadership, that just the fact that he can marshal you through and get everybody around him playing to his tune is incredibly impactful, and the Heat have missed it big time. I've got a cousin who's a massive Toronto Raptors fan, and he said to me when we signed him, he said, he is the perfect asset for you, as we know. He said the same thing. He said, look, DeMar DeRozan was their best player. Kawhi Leonard was their best player. But Kyle Lowry was the most important. He was the one that made it all work, and we're seeing that. And the results sort of show that as well. Sam, coming back to Gabe Vincent, because I mentioned him there, the role players, as we said, have been brilliant. Max Strus this season, exceptional. Caleb Martin, exceptional. But Gabe Vincent has just been, I mean, what a job he's done as a backup point guard. There's an argument to say he's the best backup point guard in the league at the moment, which is phenomenal considering he was a nothing player coming into this season. But what's impressed me most, not just his defense and his hustle, but his 3-point shooting, Sam. I didn't see this coming.
I did. Yeah,
You did.
I did. I've always been raving about him as a 3-point shooter, but for me, it's his control of the game. His defense was something that he developed as part of the Heat team, and I wasn't a big fan of his defense in the last game, but over the season, he's been fantastic. And it's a testament to not only the Heat coaching staff, but himself as a player and his development as well. And yeah, if you said to me that he was the best backup point guard in the league, I'd agree with you because he's deserved it.
Yeah, and you know, that was something that I thought that if Cole did go down, I said this right at the beginning of the season before anything played, I thought, if Cole goes down, we're in a bit of trouble there. Maybe you've got to revert back to Herro being the backup point guard again, which we saw didn't really work last year. So for Gabe to come in and fulfill that need, even though the results haven't necessarily followed, it's not really down to Gabe Vincent. He's done his bit 100%. Ollie, coming on to Bam, which is a player who's had a bit of flack over the last week. You know, coming back from injury, 6 weeks out is a long time in NBA basketball. For him to be missing for that amount of time and then come back and people think he's just going to fill in exactly where he left off was maybe a bit unrealistic. He bounced back from some of the criticism against the Raptors with a big game, 32 points. But are the calls for him to this? It's the reoccurring argument, is it? This passive ban, this not realizing the mismatches, the not being aggressive, the not driving to the rim. We know that when he's up against most people, if he believes in himself that little bit more, he's gonna be the winner of that battle. We say no ceiling Bam. Do we think that this is purely a mentality thing, or is it a developmental thing?
I think there's a couple of points to make on that. Firstly, Heat Twitter, as always, is extremely reactionary. You know, he has one bad game and it's just all on his back. Firstly, he, like you said, he always seems to react very well when he has a game that us as Heat fans, and he as well, and I'm sure the coaches know that he should be more dominant in. You tend to see if he has a game where he is sitting back and he's not taking the game by the scruff of the neck, he will do that in the next game. And that's brilliant because it's almost like he knows that that's what he should do. But in terms of doing that on a consistent basis, that's what we need. And that's what we have pleaded for with him over the course of his career, really. One thing that I loved again when he got that 32 against Toronto, he tried to pull up three, like it was off the dribble pull up three. Like the confidence that was going through him to try that is amazing, because there's been times this season where he's passing up threes wide open in the corner, which is an easier shot to make, and he's got the capability to do that. So seeing him have the confidence to take a shot like that, it's encouraging for the future. And I think, as you said, he does have a tendency to maybe be passive sometimes. And especially now that Jimmy Butler has come out and said that he is not a scorer anymore, he is a facilitator, that increases the need for Bam to be a scorer, because if Jimmy's a facilitator, then Kyle's a facilitator. Bam is a rebounding, defensive, facilitating big. Then we don't have anyone to put the ball in the bucket apart from maybe Tyler Herro off the bench. So if that is what Jimmy's role is changing to, then we need Bam to be that scorer for us.
Yeah, let's just quickly touch on that, Sam. Is it a good thing when your best player, and he is our best player, Jimmy Butler, is saying that I'm not a scorer anymore when he's capable of getting mid-30s every game? I mean, scoring with a good offensive team, way better than what I thought we was going to be this year. But that's mainly down to Jimmy and his impact too. So is that a good thing for Jimmy to say that?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that this team can find different ways to win without Jimmy being the scorer. No, in the sense that he's our max player, and there's certain times that you just need to put the ball in his hands for him to take us to the promised land. So yeah, it's a bit of a 50-50 thing, but I do get where he's coming from.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, just quickly going back to Bam, I agree with you. I think that, you know, we have got to remember that he'd been out for a long time, more reps, more confidence, etc. And he is a player that perhaps does thrive on a bit of confidence. We saw there was a bounce in his step against Toronto when he was having a good game. But, you know, I think that maybe there's going to be a time where maybe it's going to be after All-Star break that maybe Spo or even Jimmy or Kyle, one of the leaders in this team, sit them down and just go, just remember how good you are, because you could be the difference between a playoff series win or not. So we'll see what happens with Bam. But yeah, you're totally right, Ollie. Very reactionary, as always, from Heat Twitter. Let's hope it doesn't go on to that. Before we come on to the Spurs game, the East is wild, guys. Wild. I think 2.5 games separate the top 6. Not much further back, and suddenly you get the Hornets and the Raptors, etc. I mean, the Heat are now coming back to full health, as we know. We have got every chance of finishing this season as a 1 seed, every chance. But the chances are that we're going to play a first round series here against probably Toronto, Atlanta, or Boston. As a first round series, I don't really like the thought of any of those guys. But I mean, you know, this is how the East is at the moment. Just very quickly, before we come on to Spurs, Sam, if you had to take one of those 3, who are you taking? In a first round
I'd say
series?
Toronto's the easy answer. Atlanta's not been great this season, and we've literally had away with them. So I'd say between Toronto and Atlanta. I go Atlanta.
Okay. Yep. Ollie, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Toronto, and I think my argument for that is the same one that I've made for Cleveland, is that their game is very quick and athletic, and I don't think that it will be as transferable into slow half-court sets in the playoffs.
Yeah, it is a tough one. I don't really fancy any of those we've seen in the matchups against Toronto, that they're a brutal team. Their starting 5 is exceptional. The only thing that maybe hinders them, well, not maybe, definitely hinders them, is the fact that they haven't really got much depth at all. I mean, we saw they're only using sort of 7 guys now, you know, already, and we're in regular season basketball. I think Boston have got 2 guys there that can go off and give you a game against anybody, so I don't fancy that. I'll probably just about swing for Atlanta, and that's really just down to the fact that if you keep Trae Young quiet, which we've got a tendency to do, you're pretty much halfway there. So we'll see. But I don't like the thought of any of that. But way too early, really, to be talking about who we're going to mix and match up against in the playoffs. Let's come on to the Spurs game then, guys. They're not a good team at home. They're not a great team, full stop, but they're not a good team at home. They're 10-17 at home, which is a really bad home record across the league. The Heat are a part of a 500 team away, 14-14. Sam, with everybody back, which we're expecting tonight, minus obviously Vic and Markieff Morris, you know, with Kyle back, PJ Tucker back, Butler back, these are all still game time decisions, but the likelihood is that they're all going to play. They're also, Spurs could very well be without Dejounte Murray. This one, if we're all back here, what a way. The confidence should be good knowing Kyle's back. The chemistry across the group will be solid. This will go down as a pretty bad defeat if we don't get this one over, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, like you touched on it earlier, we're just coming off literally 3-game losing streak, and to extend it to 4 against a team like this would be devastating. And yeah, I wouldn't like that to happen, and yeah, no, it wouldn't be good.
No, and Ollie, the UK Spurs account reminded me just before we came on that they lost to the Warriors last time out, which I didn't know. Well, I knew the result, but what I didn't know is that the Warriors were without Steph, Clay, Draymond Green, Wiggins, and Wiseman. They were literally without their whole team, and they lost. So not looking good for Spurs. Having said that, they are still just 2 games outside of a play-in, and they won't give up because that's not Pop's nature. Again, it's sort of culture versus culture here. Spurs are not the team that they once were, but no game in the NBA is easy, especially a road game against a Western team. And this is our last trip out west, this game tonight. So regardless, still going to be a battle?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think you can expect that from any team that's managed or coached by Popovich. Yeah, I think the Heat will be okay. To be honest, word from the Heat camp is that they've got Kyle back today, and the atmosphere and the attitude in the camp is really excited to obviously have him back. Jimmy and PJ, as you said, probably going to be playing. So hopefully that positivity will transform into a good performance, and that's what we need. The Spurs, like you said, are a tough team to beat. Any team coached by him will be, and yeah, I think the Heat have enough about them, but it's one of those ones where we need to be wary.
Yeah, they definitely have enough about them. The Heat, I think it will be a relatively comfortable one tonight. But one thing that does concern me is that the Heat are not a good team for keeping the ball in their hands. We turn the ball over a lot. I think we're 27th in the league in terms of turnovers committed, so not good. The Spurs are the complete opposite. The Spurs are third in the league, so they don't turn the ball over a lot. If this is going to be a close game, it will be because of that statistic, in my opinion. But I do think that the Heat will have enough here. We'll come on to predictions in a minute. Heat are -6 on the spread. I think that's pretty comfortable. I think that if you're a betting man, I've sort of be all over that. I think the Heat have got more than enough to cover a 6-point spread. Just before we get predictions, one last thing I want to get your thoughts on. All-star reserves are announced tonight. By all accounts, it is likely to be Jimmy Butler as the only Heat representative. Sam, first of all, do you think that's fair? And do you see Bam or Tyler maybe feeling a bit sort of unlucky not to be involved?
Fair. Is it fair for Miami Heat? I'd say I'd be leaning towards yes. Is it fair for Jimmy Butler? I don't know. Personally, I think Tyler Herro deserves the if a Heat player is to get spotted, I think Tyler Herro deserves it because he's pretty much missed the fewest amount of games and he's been on it since the beginning of the season. So I'd expect the coaches and whoever gets the vote to kind of acknowledge him and like his efforts so far. Because he's been a big part of who we are this season. And we're like first seed how many games ago? So we're not doing too bad. So yeah, I'd prefer Tyler Herro, but I wouldn't be mad with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I think that the ideology is that Butler is involved. He will be an all-star reserve, and the only chance that maybe Tyler has got to get in is if they obviously have to name KD as a starter. But then obviously him being injured, not making it, Adam Silver will be picking his reserve, so Tyler might sneak in. Ollie, do you agree with that? Do you think that Spo has been saying he's been playing all-star basketball? I think Sam's case is valid there. I think that he's probably, there's an argument even to say that he's deserved it most out of any Heat player. I think maybe Bam hasn't got a lot to complain about. I don't think you can miss 6 weeks of a season up to this stage and expect to get in. But yeah, will Tyler be hopeful, or do you think that it's about right being Jimmy and that's it?
I think Tyler will be hopeful, and I agree with you both. I think he is the most deserving player of it. Bam said himself he's missed too much basketball to be in, which is fair enough. And I think Jimmy is the kind of person that he won't care. He's not bothered by it. He'd rather have his teammates there. We saw it. I think it was last year. He said, "I don't want to go if Bam's not going." Basically. So yeah, I don't think Jimmy will care too much. I think Tyler deserves it. I don't think he'll get it. To be honest, I don't think he would be the reserve either. If if they have to replace KD, which is unfortunate, but it might turn out long term to be good for the Heat. It might give them a little bit of more chip on his shoulder and might turn out well. But I think just for playing basketball and the way he's played this season, he should be there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he'll feel disheartened. I don't think it's a massive injustice. I think that he's right on that periphery. I don't think you can argue either way. I don't think you'll find many NBA fans fuming if Tyler Herro is involved. But just likewise, I don't think there's going to be uproar if he is. And he's done fantastically. He's rising as an all-star. But yeah, maybe he's going to fall just short. So let's get on to some predictions then, guys, against the Spurs tonight. As I said, the Heat are a -6 on the spread. I think I'll start tonight. I think the Heat are going to cover that relatively comfortably. I think there's going to be a big feel-good factor tonight. They are pretty much at full strength, and I think that we'll get off to a fast start as we often do. I'm going to Heat by 11 tonight. Sam, what are you thinking?
I was going to say the same. Heat by 11, but massive game from Duncan Robinson. He's overdue this. I'm thinking 7 plus threes.
Okay, yeah, Duncan Robinson, yeah, interesting about him. We'll come on to Duncan maybe in an episode or two's time as we very closely approach trade deadline 1 week today. I'm sure there'll be plenty of chatter about Duncan Robinson. Ollie, what are you thinking?
I'm going to say Heat by 9. I think it'll be one of those where we get out a big lead first, second, and third quarters, and then we just it just whittles away in the fourth, and then we get a little bit touchy towards the end. But I'm going to say Heat by 9.
Yeah, perhaps never an easy Heat experience, especially as we said, away from home and especially against a Western team. Like as I said, last time we play a Western team on the road, which is quite incredible with a third of the season still to go. Great news tonight, guys, is that the tip-off time has been brought forward from 1:30 a.m. to midnight, which I'm absolutely delighted about. So midnight tip tonight. We will, of course, be there. Follow us for the in-game comms at the Miami Heat UK. Sorry that I've missed one or two recently. We have played a lot of basketball, a lot of late nights, and it has caught up with me. I'm not young anymore, guys. I'm an old guy. So we will be there tonight, though, to witness Kyle Lowry Day and hopefully a big win. We'll be back. When's our next game? Whenever our next game is. Assume it's the night after, but we'll see. I'm useless at that, as you all know. But please follow us. Please subscribe to Miami Heat UK TV. We'll be back for the next one. Let's get back on the road tonight, guys. Let's get back in, winning at column. Let's chase down that 1 seed again. Enjoy the game. Speak to you soon.